Now resuming, as you can see, it begins with the punch thrown, kick thrown, and then there's the after image lines. The after image lines of a character appearing. You can see some speed lines from the hit, from the blow being thrown, and even a effect visual, which is badly drawn. Then you can see speed lines on the character's fist and the impact lines around the character's fingers. If I zoom in, you can actually see them. Yeah, there we go. You can actually see them. And then we have word effects, and you have a lot of speed lines here, a lot of things being thrown and blocked, and more of the And if you notice, because what's happening in that frame is more important than these other ones, I made it bigger than the others. And one technique that's actually utilized in manga that I can't remember where I've seen it from, but is to actually, I don't know what it will be called, but you can actually see how the rock here, the mountain here, is drawn the same way throughout all of it, but you notice the characters are at different spots. And here it's meant to show just how fast the characters are moving. And then I have dialogue here because it actually slows down. Effect lines on the attacks. Made that panel small. I could have actually done that better. Now I need to stop comparing what I did then to what I can do now, because everybody starts off somewhere. He's blasting. As you can see, because this panel is more important and what's happening is more intense than what happens here, I made this one bigger. You can see that he's deflecting everything, and as you can see, it actually is looking dead at him, and the blasts are actually coming from the foreground, which is where I am. So they're coming in, and then they're getting knocked back, knocked around. Some are getting knocked off there. You'd have to use you have to have a decent idea of perspective to how to pull that off. Then there are some sound effect words. Of course, the speed lines to show that it's actually quite fast. Then there's a speed attack. You can see the character looks like he's curled up because I made certain things to show that it's actually a person. You can see that his hair there, then you can see an arm, then you can see a foot and a shoe. It looks like pants. So with it curled up and being like that, without me having to actually draw the character, you can tell that it's actually a person, and you can tell that he's curled up. These are slight things that you may have taken notice to when you've actually tried to draw things yourself. And because of his expression and his you know that he's not even aware of the person getting behind him. These are things that you'd think about in detail as you're drawing. Then there's the attack. As you can see, the speed lines to show it's moving. And then there's the hit mark and the words, just to emphasize just how strong the hit was. As you can see, the speed lines there are speed lines here, effect lines showing something was moving. And you can see some speed lines showing that there were stomps into the rock or whatever you think it may be. Sometimes you don't actually have to show exactly everything, sorry about that, exactly everything that's happening. Just to show that, just to keep with the intensity, you can keep things simple. Like if you were to make a the character smaller just to show that he's landing on a mountain, that's not necessarily needed, because what's being focused on here is the character landing, not necessarily the fact that he's landing into a mountain. So you can actually make it a close-up and not actually have to show the whole not have to actually show the whole mountain that he's landing on, or the upward wall, whatever you would want to call it. There are some words here. And then my character decides to think about it, and because that's actually how I did thoughts. I'd do a circle, then I would do the bubbles, and then for dialogue I would do the circle with the tail thing here. And then remembering that he was actually on that mountain, you can see that he's actually blasting off. Then you have some wind effects here. And he attacks my character. Speed lines to show the attack. And you can see the sound effects. And sometimes you might want to show intensity on the character's faces to show whether they're stressed or how intense the attack is when you're drawing battle manga, because if a character has a plain face, it can be assumed that it's not even a challenge for them. Here you can see that it's actually a bit of effort that he had to put in to block these attacks. So that can actually change the mood of a battle. Rather than one character looking superior, it can actually change it to where the character who was superior is now on his guard. Just little things that to think about when you're drawing. And as you noticed, I made these panels actually about the same size because to me they were of equal importance. I actually could have made this one smaller. As you can see, there was a lot of action here. As we close up on view it as a close up, you can see there's hits, a lot of speed lines, there's strikes thrown, hit marks everywhere. There's the on the outside. And then Quinku gets the hit on Quinn. And then there's the hit mark and some words. Then I made this panel quite big so you can actually get a better view, and it actually puts it back on an intense circuit. Where I slowed it down here is actually looks quite boring after seeing this. And then I had to speed it back up, so I actually made it bigger, added more speed lines, and gave it a bigger effect. And I'm badly drawn version of the character actually running back. There's some dust, there's some sound effects, and you can see he's angry, and you can see there's something happening to him. Then there's somebody cheering him on. As you can see, this person was actually rooting for Quinku. Then I made this panel actually bigger than those two combined because it's actually more important, because it's actually a clashing of powers. The intensity of the characters' faces. Then there's an abrupt end, which I should have, which at this point, looking back at it, I would have done it a little bit differently. It was just a bit too abrupt, and after that much intensity, it was almost that was the climax, and then to just stop it right there, that's not too good for a person reading. They wouldn't like it to just immediately stop right there. Dialogue. And in Quinn's house. Even though I didn't actually mention any time passing in these, just reading it, it actually sets a different atmosphere and a different situation. So you can actually use that sometimes rather than having to draw a whole bunch of panels or a whole page just to explain that if a new situation in that time has progressed. Then you have some dialogue. That's actually my mom. Her name is Mako. And my character having a reaction towards the dialogue. then it actually begins into a flashback, which that's how I used to begin my flashbacks. Now what I'd actually do is what you typically see in manga when you see the black outside of the panel borders where the normal white line will be, which usually refers to something happening within the character's mind, or it's actually a flashback rather than just a huge big bubble like that. And that's the final page. And that was what I drew all the way back in I said when I was 16.